things going on every single day, and every day seems like a blur and a new day. And it's been a busy week. So
Yeah, I know you do not work for Cisco any longer, but I have to tell you, Cisco has been eating my lunch. We've had an outage at least once the last 3 weeks.
yeah, it's something that I think is just fairly common across the industry with again the massive growth in networks and the amount of infrastructure building that's happening that can kind of impact us all if things happen while that's taking place, fiber cuts, all of those things that get in the way of people's access to the internet and broadband services staying online. So know it well and live it every day. So,
Well, we're so happy to have you here tonight. I'm looking forward to this conversation. How would you like to just do a little bit of an introduction about yourself, where you're from, all of the good things?
sure. Well, I'm Kathy Kirchner. So I am at Zayo currently, and we can talk a little bit about Zayo as well. I'm originally from Montana. I grew up there, so farm kid. I live in Denver, Colorado now, and have been in the telecommunications industry since the mid 90s. So I'm dating myself a little bit, but it's been an incredible ride. I live in Denver, married with 3 dogs and a cat. No kids. And my husband is also in the industry, just recently retired in the last 2 or 3 months. So he's enjoying that. And I came back into the industry after retiring and being bored pretty quickly and feeling like there was more I could give, and still wanting to be a part of the ride that is telecommunications, and just the kind of the pivotal moment we're in now with AI growth and everything else. There's just no better place to be.
Yeah, it's definitely no day is the same. Like there's just, I think when you're in any part of the tech sector right now, it's like you wake up and you're like, okay, what am I going to learn today? Even if you've been
Right.
in town for a while.
Right. It's every single day. I
Yeah,
love that part about it.
yeah, absolutely. Now, what kind of puppies do you have?
So we have 3. They're mixed breeds. We just got them all at shelters. Incidentally, they all came from Texas originally. So in Colorado, there's a lot of dogs that are brought up because we have a lot of adopters and fosters and shelters here, and so they bring a lot of dogs in from other states, and just happen to be all 3 are from Texas, mostly pit bull mix breeds, and then the one that we just got because we needed a 3rd dog. I want all the dogs.
Of course.
She's an interesting mix. She's like, we did the DNA test on her, and she's got about 23 different breeds in her, and it's fascinating. So, but we love her. She's a little over a year old, and the other 2 are 7. So she annoys them a little bit, but they tolerate her, and I think they all get along really well now. And we enjoy them. We walk them every day, and they're part of the family. So.
Oh, that's amazing. And you went from one beautiful state to another beautiful state with going from Montana to
Yes.
Denver. So amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Great part of the
Went to the big city in Denver from, what's a pretty rural state when you think about it, hardly 1 million people in the entire state, more people in the Denver area than the entire state, which is interesting. But loved growing up there, still have family there, always will be home. Couldn't have asked for a better place to be raised and a better environment. So
That's wonderful. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this since we first met. We do like to do a little bit of an icebreaker. We think
okay.
that food is an amazing connector for people. You sit down together, break bread. What I'm wondering for you, sweet or savory if you're reaching for a late night snack?
Mm. Well, I have 2 favorite late night snacks,
Sure.
and one is savory and one is sweet. So I love York peppermint patties.
Ooh.
So I have a little stash of those. Those are great for kind of late night snack. They're satisfying and they're super sweet. And, if I have too much sugar too late at night, then I'm awake all night. So it's doesn't throw me overboard on that either. Or I do like, there's a mix of pistachios and cashews and a bunch of different nuts, mixed nut variety that we have that's readily available when we're craving more of the savory snack late at night.
Oh, those are two really good ones. I love a
I
peppermint patty.
interchange
I like
them.
they're so underrated. Like the peppermint patty is phenomenal.
I know. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, producer Ken, how's it going tonight?
It's going good.
Okay, what are you reaching for?
All right, I'm going to keep with the mint theme here, but a little different. I am a sucker for mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Oh, I do love that.
That's my go-to.
I love that.
I do love that too.
You may not have done that last night, actually.
Yeah,
Junior mints are also good.
yes. You know what's really good? And I'll bring this as one of my guilty pleasures is you get a big bowl of popcorn and you throw a bunch of chocolates in it. And junior mints actually go really well with the popcorn. They get a little bit of meltiness in there and you get like a little sweet and salty at the same time.
Really? I'll have to try that.
It's worth it. It's worth every calorie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing that. Like I said, we think food is a great connector amongst everybody, and we'd love to get to know each other just on a little bit of a personal level. So thank you for doing that. And now I'm desperately going to stop for mint chocolate chip ice cream and a York peppermint patty on my way home.
Get both.
I'm going to have to. All right. How would you like to tell us a little bit about the Zayo group?
Yeah, so Zayo Group is a digital infrastructure company. It's been around for a number of years, but has really grown over the years through a number of acquisitions. So we just completed our 50th acquisition.
Oh, wow.
That's the acquisition of Crown Castle, also a very similar company from a fiber solutions perspective. So with that was our largest acquisition. And with that, we've added 90,000 route miles to our fiber network in North America, as well as 40,000 on-net locations for services to customers and POP locations. So now our entire network spans 224,000 route miles across North America. And just recently, we announced that we secured an anchor customer to accelerate our network expansion to help build and support the AI-driven demand that we're seeing through the industry. So think about long-haul routes, large fiber counts, connecting POP sites, connecting customers into cloud services, AI data centers, kind of all of the infrastructure to build into those facilities to really enable that AI demand that we're seeing, not just in North America, but around the world, right? So, we're a key player in that space. The growth has been enormous, the demand and the builds that we're doing. It's just really, really fun to be a part of, to be able to provide those solutions to customers. And our customers run the gamut of, wireless carriers, hyperscalers, enterprise businesses. We're not really a consumer company, but we, are proud to serve, a portfolio of key clients of multiple different types and scope and scale. So it's just a really exciting business to be a part of, and just I'm excited about the services that we're providing and the capabilities that our network has to really support AI.
Yeah, and I think this is a fun topic too, because people think AI and, for a consumer, a lot of times we think just Copilot, ChatGPT, that front end piece. But really the reality is the infrastructure that behind it and behind the growth, with every organization shifting to allowing some sort of AI component to being in the environment, that's a mass shift to what has to happen in the infrastructure industry.
Yes, it definitely is. It's capacity well beyond anything I've ever seen. I remember, in the late 90s and early 2000s, we were, putting in, you'd put in a 48 count fiber and think, oh my gosh, we're never going to use it's plenty of fiber to get us through for, years. And now, we're looking at hundreds, if not thousands of fibers that you're putting in, when you're doing a build. It's quite different. And it's just amazing to see the growth and the demand where it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's come about, I feel like, in such an accelerated format as well. Like, I think that we were talking about it, and there were so many organizations that from a security perspective were saying, no, we're not going to allow it. And we're blocking sites like ChatGPT. But now the reality is that people want to use AI in their day-to-day and for many different reasons and in many different capacities. So now an organization like yourself has to, like, chop. We've got to get there. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, we have to meet that moment and be able to deliver that infrastructure, because it is really life-changing technology. And it's, the utilization and the demand is just going to continue to increase. So we need to be there to deliver for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll touch upon AI a little bit later as well. What I'm interested about is your particular role for the organization. Can you describe day to day what your role, what you're doing, how you're supporting your customers and internal customers?
Sure. So I have I'm the senior vice president for service assurance. So within service assurance, I have a number of teams and areas that we support. One of those teams is our network operations center. So that is the team that's 24/7, responding to customer issues, managing network events, driving restoration of outages, proactively monitoring the network to address issues before they become an issue. So that's a relatively large team within the overall service assurance organization. And we do that across North America. So our NOCs support Canada, the US, and then any of our global reach efforts that we have that are supported by the North American NOC. And then we also have services that we provide in Mexico as well. So that's one portion of the service assurance team. Another group that we have is the change control team. So that's network change control. So anytime we're going to be doing any work on the network, whether that's service impacting or even potentially service impacting, all of that goes through a change control process and team and approval process to make sure that, we understand when we're doing work on the network, which customers are going to be impacted, how long it's going to take, that we make sure we communicate those changes well in advance and within, the required notification periods to ensure customers are aware that activity is going to be taking place. And we also make sure that there's no conflicts between doing work on the network in different places that could, potentially take down diverse services and paths and things of that nature. We also have in service assurance our outside plant emergency restoration team. So we have a team of folks of outside plant project management professionals that manage all of our vendors and contractors that do the actual OSP or outside plant restoration. And those folks are staffed around the clock as well and are focused completely on break fix activities. So when there's a fiber cut, we have broken fiber somewhere. Those folks are engaged and are scheduled around the clock with the NOC to be available to respond to those issues quickly. It's because you'd imagine, the restoration efforts, particularly with the increasing fiber counts and size and scale of these networks, has grown significantly. And, having that dedicated team focused on it is critical. And then the other core teams that I have are activations, network activations. So when we activate and turn up services for customers, whether that's optical wave services, dedicated internet access, dark fiber services, because we do sell dark fiber services as well. We have a team of folks that support those activations and turnups. And then I also have a team that's really focused on technology requirements and our technology strategy for service assurance. What are the tools and the automation and the workflow optimization opportunities that we have with technology and AI and automation to really streamline the operations and make us more efficient to allow us to scale quickly with the growth of the network and the business.
So any one of those is a full-time job and you have 5 or 6 areas. I mean, that is, I just think about the change management piece of it and just
Yeah.
the change control piece. And I think if you're outside of IT, what a lot of people don't understand is most of these activities, you have to talk to every different area of the organization
Yes.
because there's always varying things occurring. And then, oh, by the way, find the right time of day for it to happen. I know we made a change late last night and we were back on the phone at, 7 o'clock this morning, making sure that as operations were spun back up this morning, we didn't impact anything. Now take that as scale across your organization. I mean, these are big components of making sure there's no disruption of service.
Yeah, and I think it's and a great example of what's the importance of change control right now that's going on is the World Cup. So, what we don't want is we want the infrastructure to be stable and up, because a number of our clients, are carrying broadcast traffic,
Yeah.
so we don't want to, disturb those, and in events like that, we put additional, what I would call moratoriums on the network to say, hey, we're not going to be touching the network or going to limit our activity on the network at particular times during, particular days, as an example. Same thing that we do, during holidays and, Black Friday when everybody's shopping online. The last thing, anybody wants is, the network to go down because we were working on it, right? So, there's a huge amount of coordination that goes on to manage that and make sure that we're meeting kind of the requirements of our clients as well, who rely on those moratoriums also to ensure that there's stability during critical times. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to ask a personal favor. And when the Bills make the Super Bowl this year, we just need to make sure there's no disruption.
Got it. Well, we could get into football and talk about that and have some good, healthy discussion.
Yeah.
I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but you probably think, how does somebody from Montana that lives in Denver get to be a Chiefs fan? Well, I went to college in Kansas City.
Okay.
And that was my first real exposure to living in a place that had a pro team. And then I naturally got, hooked on watching the Chiefs. And I've been a Chiefs fan ever since. And I live in Denver. So that in itself is, can be challenging.
Yeah.
A bit of a rivalry there. So.
Yeah. And I think it probably mirrors what we have going on with Buffalo and Kansas City.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. It is funny how you pick, like, how people come up with their teams, right? Like especially if you don't live there, it's like, how did you pick that as your team? It's fun to hear the stories.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, and I think the other thing is with change happening so rapidly, it's so hard to keep up. Like it's just a constant request, and there's so much coming at, like, from the business units, making sure that you can keep up with the growth and the strategy of the organization while still maintain, that full operations mode. So hats off to you. How big is your team?
It's several hundred folks when you look across, kind of all of those teams. And, and that's a mixture of, internal employees. We also leverage contractors. We do some outsourcing, very similar to what you would see with many, other technology companies. It's a mix of kind of those, but I kind of like to think it's a bit of a lean and mean team. We've got, it sounds like a lot of people, but when you think about all of, kind of those functions, the client base that we have to support, the size of the network, it really isn't a lot when you kind of put it into perspective. But it's a great combination of functions that are so integrally tied to ensuring the service assurance experience for our customers, remains sound and meets their expectations, because everything that all of those teams, it's very intertwined and they work very closely together. And I think, aligning them together has been, really, kind of fun to be a part of and to see as they kind of look across all of the service assurance experiences to figure out, how do we make it better? How do we continue to prevent issues versus just react, and really help drive, important critical things across the enterprise to make that experience better, whether it's hardening the network, upgrading, expanding, finding alternate routes on ones that could be problematic, making sure that we've got more prevention efforts in place. So the fun part about it is, also being able to just, work across the entire organization. When you're in service assurance, it does touch every part of the organization. So you get to work with sales and customer success and engineering and field and the entire company. So that's the really fun part too, is, you really every day experience how you're a part of the broader ecosystem to support, every aspect of what's going on.
Yeah. And, somebody who's just starting an organization. So I look at project management and the project managers that probably report up through you. What a great way to set yourself up for further advancement opportunities is being part of an organization like Service Assurance, because to your point, you get exposure to everywhere across the organization. So you get to know the business like no other area. So I would also think that from a career growth perspective, what a great place to be sitting for those who work for you.
Yes, absolutely. I think those are all great opportunities, because you do get that full point of view. And we look at service assurance as is it should be a selling point of the product. We certainly have work to do to get to that point where, it's a differentiator for us, and we want it to be. But I have the opportunity to be able to participate in so many conversations with customers, along with our sales teams and our customer success teams. And I love that element of it too,
Yeah.
because, you get exposure to what their needs are, how they're leveraging your products and services, so that you can ensure that what you're doing from a service assurance perspective meets their needs and aligns with their goals as well. And, again, I think it is a great place because it is a service function. So whether your path is, I want to get into more of the customer success side, I want to get into the sales side, I want to get into engineering, we have within service assurance opportunities, that are more technical in nature. We have engineers in service assurance, we have technicians, we have service assurance executives that take care of extremely large clients from a service assurance perspective. We have the technology folks that are looking at, tools and technology and working with our development partners to get what we need. So it just runs the gamut of pretty much any kind of career path you want to take. You can get experience by being a part of this group.
Yeah. And I think that's great advice for people who are starting out in the tech industry. That first opportunity you get in an organization like the Service Assurance Group, it just you get to know every working aspect and people across different groups, and just it sets you up for such success as you continue to grow. So I think it's amazing advice for people if you're out there looking for your first role in technology. Take the help desk role, take the group that's service delivery, change management, because the opportunities that you can take as part of that are paramount for the future of your career.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's when, I think sometimes folks might think, you want to get into telecommunications or digital infrastructure,
Yeah.
and it's super technical roles, engineers and, all of those things. And it is all of those things. But then there are also other pretty much, any type of role you want to get into in the telecommunications industry. It exists, again, there's marketing, there's human resources, there's all, of course, the engineering and the operations sides of things. But, just so many opportunities and different paths you can take. and be in the industry no matter what it is that you want to do.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. So what I find interesting is that you had retired and you decided to come out of retirement for this role. I mean, hats off to the Zayo group, because they must have really been fortunate enough to have the opportunity that matched your skill set and to bring you out of that retirement. I hate to say lifestyle, but a quick little retirement. What were you thinking when you decided to go back into the workforce after a retirement stint?
It was interesting because, I had a plan for retirement. I was going to retire at a certain age. I was on track to be able to do that. And then, as anything happens, especially with mergers, acquisitions, reorganizations, I had the opportunity to retire a couple years earlier than I had planned, which was great. Certainly didn't have any impact financially.
Yeah.
It just, I was just had this great opportunity to go ahead and hit that plan and that target earlier than anticipated, which is always a good thing. But I hadn't really thought it through, I guess. All this time I was like, I got a couple years yet. I'll figure out what I want to do after retirement. Then all of a sudden the opportunity's there. Like, let's do it. And I didn't really have a plan.
Yeah.
And it was, and I would tell people it is important to have a plan, or at least have some kind of idea of what you're going to do. And I tried a few different things. I did some volunteer work. I sat on some boards, and those kinds of things. But I got to tell you, I really missed the technology and being a part of it. And I felt like, and I love technology. So it's never, the entire time I've worked in my career, I've never felt like it was work. I've just been fortunate to be able to do something that I really love and be a part of and enjoy it. It's not like you're going to, oh God, it's time to make the donuts. I'm going to work today. It's not that. It's like you get up and you're excited about what the day's going to bring and what the companies you're working for are doing, and, how integral, telecommunications and the networks that we're supporting are to people's lives. And I remember when I said I was going to retire, there was a friend of mine that said, yeah, you're going to be retired for about 5 minutes. He's like, that's not going to, he goes, you're not going to retire. No, I'm doing it. And so I did. And, it lasted a couple months, and then I really started to kind of miss just, I think, the human interaction of working with teams of people and building things, and, kind of just the exercise of your mind and the ability to be able to leverage those muscles to really contribute to something really cool. And like I said, I did volunteer work, boards, but it wasn't the same, at least not for me, and I think everyone has to kind of decide what, they're going to enjoy and want to do in retirement. And there's nothing wrong with working in retirement. Sometimes I think that there's, a little bit of a stigma about that. Oh, you retired, why would you want to work? And it's like, well, I don't really view it as work. So I look at it as like, your retirement can be working in retirement. That's perfectly okay. And, find something that you love to do and do it. And so I had been thinking about it. And then I had a former colleague and friend of mine that I worked with at Comcast reach out of the blue and just say, hey, I have a friend of mine that, has just become a COO at a healthcare company. So within healthcare, they're, very similar to the telecommunications industry. You see a lot of acquisitions and MSOs and those kinds of things, where you're kind of bringing a lot of these practices together. And she said, hey, they're looking to, and this was during COVID. So what had happened during COVID is, as everyone kind of knows, healthcare is, relatively local. If you were to call to make an appointment or talk to somebody, you're almost always landing with somebody that's sitting at the clinic or at the hospital, and, all of those things. Well, during COVID, that changed everything.
Yep.
And so, they were looking for, how do you centralize support functions like, answering phones and scheduling appointments and all of those things, knowing that on-site presence had become a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
as well as digital, digital capabilities and online capabilities to support telehealth and be able to, schedule appointments and do all of those things self-serve.
Yep.
And so I met with him. We had great conversation. I went to work for them because everything that a lot of what I had done in the telecommunications industry, particularly when I was in the customer care side of things, all of that was very transferable, standing up contact centers, consolidating, regionalizing, building digital technology capabilities for self-service.
Yep.
It's just that the content was different,
Yep.
in the healthcare industry. So that was really my first job out of retirement, and I loved it. And it was just fascinating to be a part of the healthcare industry and really learn that world.
Yep.
And it's probably, super memorable. I loved it. And then from there, I, had different opportunities that kind of came to me the same way.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity post-retirement to kind of go into, a few different companies since I left Comcast to kind of come in and build things up, help, I almost felt a little bit like I was a consultant almost, but a consultant that was, on staff full time with benefits, working with the team. And then timing wise, it just seemed like, when I kind of had gotten to the point where I'd, accomplished what they'd asked me to come in to do, someone else would reach out. And it was, so there was a number of those opportunities, and that wasn't unlike what happened with Zayo. And I've been here now for a little over a year and a half, and, came in at, I think, a really great time of growth and transformation, and, haven't looked back. It's been phenomenal, but I've really enjoyed going back to work since retirement. And it kind of has been just a really fun ride. And it's different when you're working in retirement than when you're not, right?
Yeah.
When you're working, because it's like, hey, I've got to work. I've got, I have a career plan and all of these other kinds of things. And to be able to just, come in and just focus on making a difference and enjoying myself and building teams and, ensuring that their jobs are fulfilling as well. And, executing and building something together with all the great people that work at Zayo. It's just, it's great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you liken it to consulting because, it does, especially during COVID. So I was working in a similar role. I was actually the CTO for a healthcare consulting firm, and we were standing up help desks, and converting into telehealth scheduling and all of these, vaccine clinics and testing clinics. And it was a time where you were thrown into something where you had to learn so quickly and had to adapt. And so I can see walking into that role, like out of, as something new, being really interesting, because we were all, even in the industry, just exposed to so many new quick ways that we had to adapt to something new being thrown at us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's probably a social factor for me. Like I'm afraid if I retire, I'm going to miss really talking to all of my people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that part about it too. I mean, even when, everyone was remote and nobody was going into the office, the human interaction, even if remote, and we're a largely remote team as well. Like we have people, all over, and so we still have very remote presence, but we do have an office here in Denver, and everyone that's in Denver goes in 2 to 3 days a week, and it's a nice blend of kind of remotely connecting with people around the country, and even with some of our offshore partners, as well as kind of the face-to-face element of being able to go in 3 days a week and interact with folks. I like that part of it, and I missed that when I was retired. Now, I spent a lot of time during the brief period that I was retired, traveling with family and doing a lot of those kinds of things too. But you build relationships with people you work with, whether it's fellow employees, customers. I love to interact with the customers. It's one of the things that I really enjoy doing is, and in service assurance, those aren't always pleasant conversations,
Right.
those interactions. Usually when I'm going to those meetings, aside from quarterly business reviews and things like that, they're typically to address issues and concerns that the customers have with service assurance. And, I love to meet our customers. I like to be able to take the problems that they're experiencing and find solutions and fix them, and be able to share progress and see them experience that progress and improvement. So there's the whole customer interaction piece of it too that I just love. So it's a kind of it's been a great kind of mix of both of those things, that makes it really fulfilling.
That's awesome. It can be rewarding when you're looking at a customer and you solved a problem. It's like, I helped somebody today. Like, it's just, there's a factor behind that feels good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, for those that are just entering telecom, do you have any type of advice? So if they're thinking about a career in telecom, any advice for them?
I think, as I kind of mentioned before, there are so many different opportunities in the telecom industry. Every facet of the organization, there's opportunities. So I would say, explore those opportunities. I would also say that, it's like we talked about, as going into healthcare when we didn't have any experience in that. What you'll find is that in telecommunications, it's like any industry, don't feel like just because you haven't worked in telecommunications before, that it might be difficult or challenging to get in. There are transferable skills, just like the healthcare example that I used, that, skills that you've gained in other industries, or, are, certainly applicable in the telecommunications field, whether that's project management, whether it's, field type services, customer facing roles. Like I said, the content is just different.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got into telecommunications, it certainly was not my plan. My plan was I was going to go into music. That was my plan from the time I was, in sixth grade. And then once I got into music, had a scholarship and got into college, and it started to feel, like a job, just because with the scholarship, you had to accompany so many people and you had to be a part of so many bands. And, and I had really been in music more because as a hobby, and it was enjoyable. Right. And I thought, it'll be great to go into music as a career.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was different, and it was very different as a career versus as a hobby. And then I had to make, a quick decision of, well, what am I going to do if I'm not going to do this? This was my plan. And, it just on a whim ended up at a college career fair where, DeVry was there and they were touting their telecommunications management program, and, that you could pick your salary if you got into telecommunications. I'm like, I'm not even sure what telecommunications is, but that sounds good. Pick my salary. I'm going to do it, and I did. And it was like the best decision I could have made.
Yeah.
I had no experience or knowledge of it, but I would tell you it's an exciting industry. You're at the forefront of growth, from a technology perspective, and building the infrastructure that's empowering, this next big technological transformation that we're making. And you can be a part of it in many different areas with many different skills. So, don't let anything get in the way of going after it if that's what you want to do. And just kind of bring in, what you do and how it is transferable.
Yep.
And how you could apply it in telecommunications and technology.
No, I love that advice. I think people are quick to minimize the experience that they have if they're not in that role. But, I look at moms, and moms are fantastic at what? Time management, people management. Like, there's so many transferable skills that you can take, that even if you were home with your kids for, the first part of, their lives, and they go to school and you're ready to go on. That's what I did. I put my producer Ken into nursery school. I went to college, and, we kind of did that together, but there were skills that I learned along the way that I still use every day in my role. So.
Yeah, Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing too with just technology is there are great schools like DeVry, Brighton, Stratton, some of those other like schools that are out there, but also the certification programs that are available are
Mhm.
phenomenal. And there's some great tracks through Cisco and some of the others as well. So
Yeah, I think trade schools certainly, and because when you think about AI and how it's changing, how people do their work,
yep,
and those kinds of things. One of the things that we is super critical for any infrastructure company is the availability of those folks that can go out there and do the restoration,
yep,
whether that's splicing, outside plant, field services, smart hands, all of those kinds of things. The physical part of maintaining the network is only going to continue to grow.
yep,
So I think those are also huge opportunities where there just aren't a lot of those people. Are there enough to go around, right, with the
right,
demand that all of us have? Because it's not just us. I mean, you look at every wireless carrier, you look at competitors of ours that are also building digital infrastructure, fiber overbuilders, fiber to the home. All of them need the folks in the field that keep it running,
yep,
that install it and construct it and fix it, right?
yep.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. To your point, it's such a broad stroke of what's available and opportunities that are out there. So,
yeah.
absolutely. What do you think one of your number one leadership skills that have really helped you advance in your career?
Honestly, I think it's listening. And I don't know if that's, and it's
Yeah,
not even just a leadership skill, but as a leader, I would say, one of the most important ones. Um, because I think whether it's listening to employees on how to make things better, to understand what the pain points are, listening to customers, um, you know, it is probably, I would say, the most important thing, not just when you newly enter a leadership role, but throughout your career. Because
yeah,
if you don't practice and execute strong listening, true listening,
yep,
you're going to miss out on, you know, what the true problems are. You're going to miss out on the best ideas on how to fix those. You're not going to hear what the customers really need you to go resolve. So I think, you know, listening is super important, and taking feedback, and truly listening to that feedback and then actioning it, whatever that is, whether it's feedback about you or how you're operating, feedback from the team on what they need and how they need to be supported from customers on what we need to fix, or how we need to operate in order to meet their expectations. Your own leader,
yeah.
to make sure that you're building the right relationship there, and so I would say that would be the one that I would put the most focus on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, I like to say when you're really listening to somebody, you can tell that there's something that's either wrong or they have a difference of opinion, not by the words that they use, but by the inflection of their voice, by
Yep.
just getting to know the person that you're listening to. There's just such value in that. Um, that I agree with you. I think it's one of the key leadership skills, and finding somebody who truly listens to another person is just so valuable.
Mhm.
And being able to put what you're hearing to good use and helping support the team and yourself and growth. It's amazing what comes out of just a conversation where somebody's really listened to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Well, we all have challenging days. How do you regain focus after a rough day? Any words of advice?
Um, well, my days are typically kind of 24/7.
Yeah.
But what I try to do is, but usually once you kind of get through the business day, then it's not like it's just there's constant calls and you're up
Yeah.
24/7. But there are interruptions, right? If there's an
Yep.
outage, you get an escalation or whatnot. But I try to just take the I take the opportunity when it presents itself to step away, to do whatever it is to, kind of just take a breath and kind of reflect on the day and make sure that I've got my, day planned out, or that I've got a good grasp on everything that maybe I didn't get to
Yeah.
today. Because in this role, obviously there's the whole strategic part and thinking more broadly about carrying the team forward, integrating the teams, all of that stuff. And then but that is always, there's always going to be the interruptions of the fire of the moment, and customer conversations and follow-ups and everything.
Yep.
So sometimes what just even helps me is, once I get to the end of the day, I just set some time to make sure I go back into my day and say, okay, what is everything that I need to make sure I follow through on, that I made commitments on, and make sure that I get those on my task list and scheduled, and I carve out time to do those. And there's something about that makes me just, feel at ease that I haven't forgotten something, and that I'm tracking all of those things. And it sounds weird, but it really, if I don't do that, then I find myself being stressed, because I'm like, I know I forgot something.
Yep.
Oh, I made that commitment to that customer. I need to follow up on that tomorrow. And then it becomes helter skelter, where if I just carve out some time and I just get it all out on the calendar, on my task list, I can walk away and feel like, I've organized everything that took place, and I've got a good plan to make sure that it doesn't fall off the radar, and that I see those things through, everything that I need to execute on.
Yeah, I love that advice. I think just taking 30 minutes at the end of the day. I'm a big color coder, so I'll
Mhm.
like color code things that, from a priority perspective. But there's such value, and it first of all puts you at ease at the end of the night. You've taken
Yeah.
care of, and you've identified what I need to do tomorrow. So you come in the next day, you're obviously there's probably fires that have hit
Yeah.
overnight,
Might
but
not just get it done tomorrow either, but I'm
it's
tracking it.
absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I love that advice. That little bit of prep just puts you in such a different place for that next day. So I think
Right.
that's
You
it.
sleep better. You can kind of put it
Yeah,
aside then. You're not in this space of being distracted thinking about
yeah,
what you've forgotten for the day. And then you can really just kind of unwind,
yeah.
right?
And I think that recharge and unwind is so important. And I know, especially like when I was earlier in my career, I'd get so spun up. I'd be, 23 hours out of 24, just so spun and wired about what had happened at the office. But taking that step back, refocusing, having a good meal, a good sleep, there's something to be said
Right.
for that after a rough day.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having that nice dinner and
Yeah.
food that you've been thinking about, or just we'll go spend some time out in the backyard by the fire pit. Although we don't turn the fire pit on right now; it's pretty hot. But just kind of sitting. It's quiet and it's calm. You play with the dogs. You catch up on your day, and
Yeah.
just little simple things.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. I think, taking time to appreciate those little things, just again, it puts you in a different headspace after a rough day, and you can go into the next one having put a little bit behind you, anyways. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Well, anything fun on the horizon? Anything you'd like to share?
Well, we've got some vacations planned.
Yay.
So we've got those going on. We're going on a little vacation here in a couple weeks with my sister and her family, celebrate her birthday. So I'm super excited about that. And then we've got a cruise scheduled up from the very northernmost part of Canada. We're gonna cruise, it's like an expedition type cruise where it's almost like National Geographic type stuff, where you get to go out on the Zodiac boats and go to
Oh, that's
really
awesome.
remote places and explore all of that. It's like an Arctic type cruise for the first part of it. And then we end up down in Boston, and it'll be in the peak season of, fall foliage and everything else. So that's going to be kind of cool. We're doing that in the fall.
Yeah.
And then I think work-wise, we've just got a lot going on, with
Yeah.
the recent acquisition. We've got a lot of really exciting work going on with the team. to kind of figure out how we kind of bring the best of both worlds and the best practices of both companies together
Yeah.
to create something really great together. So that has been super fun, getting to know the new members of the team, and you know, we've got so much exciting work ahead of us to kind of build out, you know, what that operating model is going to look like, and bringing everything together to provide kind of that streamlined experience for the customer. So that's really exciting work. I think everyone in the company is excited about it, but I know in service assurance, we're very excited about it. Bringing two really great teams together, and what we're going to be able to do to really transform the customer experience is very exciting. So
That's awesome. That is an exciting time. Like when you get presented that opportunity, you're like, yeah, this is the time where we can make the changes and bring everything together and just make it that best in class service opportunity that you know you can do with such great organizations. So that's fun.
right. Yeah.
That's fun. Well, is there anything that myself and my team can help with?
No, I think it's been helpful even just to talk with you. And, you know, I think, you know, you're definitely, you know, your expertise in kind of the leadership area and all of those things. I definitely will want to pick your brain and stay in communication, and certainly will keep in mind anything, you know, else that you all can help us with. But I think certainly, you know, the podcast has been fun. And I think, you know, like I said, you know, the expertise and this, what you provide is so critical to any organization or folks that are looking for those leadership opportunities. And, you know, just great guidance as I've kind of looked at some of the material and things that y'all have done previously. Just really impressed. You know, I think it's great to be able to be a part of a podcast with you and be a part of and get to experience firsthand interacting with you and your team. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I hope you'll come back.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. I love this conversation. This is where producer Ken starts to tell me that I really can talk a lot, and
he's like, got it. Time to stop. Yeah.
I've absolutely loved every minute of our conversation. I appreciate it.
I am glad we don't work within a specific time window. That's all I'm going to say.
He's like, Mom, you can talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
But well, thank you for being here tonight. Again, just an amazing conversation. I learned so much about you, great leadership advice, great mindset advice. So thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective and sharing your journey to the position that you're in now. I think it's so great. And the other thing I want to say is, you know, it's okay if you know, I know a lot of people are like, retire, but sometimes it's just fun to keep working.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. If you have the opportunity and that's what you want to do in your retirement, go for it.
Absolutely. Everybody, it's your life. Do what makes you happy is the biggest, I think, message too. Yeah. Well, thank you again for being here. We appreciate it. And producer Ken, thanks for being here tonight.
You got it.
And I also want to give a shout out. So we have a cool backdrop here.
I love that backdrop.
We are so lucky. We're in a smaller community. We're nestled right between Buffalo and Rochester, New York. But the restaurant owners, the Chamber of Commerce, everybody has just really welcomed us out into the community. So we love to come out and record and be a part of it and let people kind of see what we do. And we thank our friends at Romans because they're definitely always welcoming for us. So we're at Romans in Batavia tonight, and it's a cool space to record.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, well, thank you again. I've appreciated this conversation, and I know all of our subscribers and listeners, thank you for being here. And Kathy, I know this is going to resonate with every single one of them. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Right. Thanks. We have a good night.
You too.